Okay, so you love coffee.
Yeah.
Okay, and you've given us tons of info to work with.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to try to brew up like a really concentrated shot of coffee knowledge. We've got this super comprehensive article about all the benefits. Some you might know, and some I bet will surprise you.
I think so, yeah.
Ready to dive in?
Absolutely.
Awesome. So we've got this in-depth article on all the benefits of coffee. Ready to get caffeinated on knowledge.
Let's do it. I'm excited to really unpack all this.
You too. It looks like we're going to brew up a concentrated shot of the most fascinating and useful facts about your daily cup, or 2 or 3.
Exactly.
Okay, let's start with the basics. We all know coffee wakes you up.
Yep.
But how does that actually work? The article mentions something called adenosine.
Yeah, adenosine. It's actually a neurotransmitter that builds up in your brain throughout the day.
Okay.
And it basically signals to your body that it's time to rest.
Ah, interesting.
But caffeine's a pretty clever molecule. You see, it has a very similar structure to adenosine, so it can actually bind to those same receptors in your brain.
Oh, wow.
But instead of activating them like adenosine does, caffeine blocks them.
So it's like hitting the do not disturb button on your brain's sleep switch.
Exactly. You got it. It's basically tricking your brain into thinking it's not tired.
I love that.
And it gets even more interesting. There are actually different subtypes of adenosine receptors, and caffeine seems to be particularly drawn to the A1 and A2A receptors.
Okay.
And those receptors are involved not just in sleep regulation, but also in things like dopamine release and cognitive function.
So it's not just about feeling awake. It's about how your brain is actually working.
Yeah, precisely. By blocking those specific adenosine receptors, caffeine sets off a whole chain of events. It boosts dopamine, which is a neurotransmitter associated with motivation and reward. That's why coffee can give you that sense of alertness and focus.
Got it.
And it also increases norepinephrine, which helps with attention and cognitive processing.
Wow. So there's real science behind that coffee-fueled brain boost. It's not just a placebo effect.
Oh, absolutely. There's a real physiological basis for it.
That's so cool.
And this is why coffee can be so beneficial for tasks that require, mental sharpness. Like if you're studying, writing, problem solving.
Right.
The article even mentions studies that show coffee can improve reaction time and logical reasoning.
I've definitely noticed that.
Okay.
Okay, so if it can do all that for our brains, what about physical performance? I've heard of people using coffee as a pre-workout drink.
Oh, you're definitely on the right track. Caffeine isn't just a brain booster. It's a really powerful ergogenic aid, which just means it can enhance athletic performance.
Interesting.
Like one study found that drinking coffee can actually increase running speed by up to 6%. And another study, this one was on weightlifters, showed that they could lift almost 10% more weight after coffee.
Wow, that's impressive.
Right. Those are some significant numbers. So yeah, it definitely can have a positive impact on physical performance as well.
So how does that work? Does caffeine, give you superhuman strength or something?
Not quite superhuman, but it does tap into your body's energy reserves.
Oh, okay.
Caffeine stimulates the release of adrenaline, and that, in turn, triggers your body to break down glycogen.
Glycogen.
Yeah. It's your body's stored form of glucose, and that provides a readily available source of energy for your muscles.
So it's like a quick energy shot for your body.
Exactly.
Good.
And there's another interesting effect. Caffeine also reduces your perception of effort. So even though you might be working harder physically, it doesn't feel as hard. You can push yourself further and longer without feeling as fatigued.
Oh, that makes sense. I've definitely noticed that I can power through a tough workout more easily after a cup of coffee. But the article goes way beyond just energy and performance. It talks about some pretty amazing long-term health benefits.
Yes. And this is where things get really interesting. Coffee isn't just a quick fix. It might actually be a potent health elixir in disguise.
I'm ready to hear more about this coffee elixir.
All right, well, let's dive in.
So we've covered the immediate effects of coffee, like the energy boost, the mental clarity, the enhanced physical performance. But this article goes on to list a whole bunch of long-term health benefits. And some of them, honestly, I was pretty surprised by.
Yeah, there are some really interesting findings out there.
I'm ready to hear all about this coffee elixir.
Okay, well, let's start with heart health. You might be surprised to learn that moderate coffee consumption, like 2 to 4 cups a day, is actually associated with a lower risk of heart disease and stroke.
Really? I always thought coffee was bad for your heart.
Yeah, that's a common misconception. While it is true that coffee can temporarily increase your heart rate and blood pressure,
Right.
the long-term effects seem to be quite different. Coffee is full of antioxidants. You know, those compounds that fight free radicals and protect our cells from damage.
Right.
And these antioxidants help reduce inflammation and improve blood vessel function, both of which contribute to a healthier heart.
So it's those antioxidants that are like the key players here.
Exactly. And it's not just about the heart either. Coffee has also been linked to a reduced risk of developing type 2 diabetes.
Wow, really?
Yep. Again, the antioxidants seem to be playing a key role here. They improve insulin sensitivity, which basically means your body can use insulin more effectively to regulate blood sugar levels. And what's really interesting is that decaf coffee seems to offer similar benefits in this area.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it suggests it's not just the caffeine that's doing the work.
So even if you're sensitive to caffeine, you can still reap some of the health benefits. That's good news for decaf drinkers.
Definitely. And the benefits don't stop there. Remember we were talking about caffeine's effects on the brain earlier? Well, those effects extend to long-term brain health too. Studies have linked coffee consumption to a lower risk of neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's.
So coffee could potentially protect our brains as we age. That's incredible. But how does that work?
Well, there seem to be a few mechanisms at play. First, caffeine appears to protect brain cells from damage and reduce the buildup of harmful proteins that are associated with Alzheimer's disease. And for Parkinson's disease, studies have shown that coffee consumption may reduce the risk by up to 60%. And that's likely because of its ability to boost dopamine production, which, as you know, is crucial for brain function in Parkinson's patients.
Wow. This is all starting to sound pretty amazing. Are there any other surprises in store?
Oh, we're just getting started. Remember how we talked about the liver's role in detoxifying the body? Well, coffee can actually help protect your liver from diseases like fatty liver disease, hepatitis, and even cirrhosis.
Wait, seriously, coffee helps your liver? I had no idea.
It's true. Studies have shown that people who drink 3 to 4 cups of coffee a day have a significantly lower risk of liver disease, like a reduction in cirrhosis risk by as much as 40 to 80%.
Wow, those are some serious numbers.
Right. It even helps lower liver enzyme levels, which is a key indicator of liver health. And there's more. There's even evidence suggesting that coffee can reduce the risk of certain types of cancer. Studies have linked coffee consumption to a lower risk of liver and colorectal cancer, 2 of the most common forms of cancer.
Wow. We started with a cup of coffee, and now we're talking about potentially preventing some pretty serious diseases.
Yeah.
I'm starting to think we should all be drinking more coffee.
Well, you know, moderation is still key, like with most things, but the science is definitely very intriguing. And the benefits don't stop at just physical health either. The article also highlights coffee's positive impact on mood and mental well-being.
Right, I was just getting to that. The article mentioned a link between coffee and a reduced risk of depression.
Exactly. And that comes back to those neurotransmitters we talked about earlier, dopamine and serotonin. Those are key players in mood regulation, and coffee can boost their levels, essentially acting as a natural mood lifter.
So it's like a little dose of happiness in a mug.
Pretty much.
You know, I have to say, I usually do feel more upbeat after my morning coffee.
That's a very common experience. And here's the kicker. All of these benefits, from heart health to brain health to mood boost, they all seem to add up to something even more remarkable. Studies show that coffee drinkers may actually live longer.
Wait, really? A longer life just from drinking coffee? That's amazing.
Well, it's not a guarantee, of course. But the research is pretty compelling. Coffee drinkers tend to have lower risks of all those major diseases we just discussed, which could very well translate to a longer lifespan.
Okay, you've officially convinced me. Coffee is a miracle drink. But the article also mentioned some benefits that I wasn't expecting, like related to weight management and gut health.
Oh,
tell me more about this.
Okay, so in terms of weight management, caffeine boosts metabolism and increases fat burning. Plus, black coffee is naturally very low in calories, making it a good choice for those who are watching their weight.
Makes sense.
Of course, you want to avoid loading it up with sugar and cream because that can kind of negate those benefits.
All right, got to keep it clean. But what about gut health? That one really piqued my interest.
Oh, yeah, this is where it gets fascinating. Coffee acts as a prebiotic, meaning it promotes the growth of beneficial bacteria in your gut.
Okay.
You see, our gut is home to trillions of bacteria, what we call the gut microbiome.
Right, the microbiome.
Exactly. And a healthy gut microbiome is super important for all sorts of things, from digestion and nutrient absorption to immune function and even mental health.
Wow. We started with just a cup of coffee, and now we're talking about the microbiome.
It's amazing, isn't it, how interconnected everything is?
It really is. So coffee is basically feeding the good guys in our gut.
Precisely. It's providing nourishment for the beneficial bacteria that help keep our gut ecosystem balanced. And as we've been saying, a healthy gut has wide-ranging effects on our overall well-being.
Okay, I'm officially convinced coffee is less of a drink and more of a superhero in disguise.
Ah.
We've gone from energy boosts to disease prevention to gut health. What else is there?
Well, you've provided some really interesting material, and I think there's one more aspect of coffee we haven't really touched on yet. Its cultural significance.
Right. Coffee is so much more than just a beverage. It's like a ritual, a social connector, a source of inspiration. It's really woven into the fabric of our lives in so many ways.
It really is.
I mean, just think about it. How many first dates, business deals, or late-night study sessions have been fueled by coffee?
Countless, I'm sure. You know, coffee houses have historically been these hubs for intellectual and artistic exchange.
I never thought about it that way.
Yeah, from the Enlightenment era coffee houses in Europe where philosophers and writers would gather to debate their ideas, to today's modern coffee shops that serve as co-working spaces and social gathering places, coffee has always played a big role in bringing people together.
And let's not forget all those rituals around coffee. The way people grind their beans, their specific brewing methods, the way they decorate their latte. It's like an art form.
It really is. And these rituals can be so personal and meaningful. You know, for some, it's a quiet moment of solitude in the morning, a chance to just gather their thoughts before the day begins.
Right.
For others, it's a very social activity, a way to connect with friends or colleagues.
You know what I think is so fascinating about coffee? It's more than just a drink. It's an experience, a cultural phenomenon, a source of comfort and connection.
Well said.
So we've basically gone from the science of caffeine to a global exploration of coffee culture. What a journey.
It's amazing, isn't it, how much depth there is to something we often just take for granted.
I know. I feel like I have a whole new appreciation for my daily cup.
Me too.
But before we wrap up, I think it's important to remember that everyone is different. What works for one person may not work for another.
Oh, absolutely. While the research we talked about points to a lot of potential benefits, how people respond to coffee can definitely vary. It's important to listen to your body and pay attention to how you feel after you drink coffee.
Right. If you experience any negative side effects like jitters, insomnia, or digestive issues, it might be a good idea to adjust your intake or even talk to your doctor.
That's good advice. You know, moderation is key, as with most things in life.
Well, coffee lovers, we've come to the end of our deep dive. Hopefully you've gained some new insights and maybe even a newfound appreciation for your daily cup, or 2 or 3.
And remember, next time you reach for that cup of coffee, take a moment to savor not just the taste, but also the rich history, culture, and the amazing science behind it.
Cheers to that.
Cheers.
Happy sipping, everyone. Think about it, Like how many first dates or business deals or late-night study sessions have been fueled by coffee?
Oh, yeah, countless. I mean, coffee houses, historically, they've been these hubs for, intellectual and artistic exchange.
Never thought about it like that.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. From those, those Enlightenment-era coffee houses in Europe where all those philosophers and writers would gather to, debate ideas.
Yeah.
Today's modern coffee shops, they're kind of like co-working spaces and social gathering places, So coffee has, always played a big role in bringing people together.
Yeah. And you can't forget about all the rituals surrounding coffee, too. Like the way people grind their beans, their brewing methods,
right.
the way they decorate their lattes. It's an art form.
It really is. And those rituals can be so personal, so meaningful. For some people, it's that quiet moment of solitude in the morning, a chance to just gather their thoughts before the day gets going.
Yeah, I get that.
And for others, it's a very social activity, a way to connect with friends or colleagues.
I think that's what's so cool about coffee. It's more than just a drink.
Yeah.
It's an experience. It's like a cultural phenomenon.
Totally.
A source of comfort and connection.
Yeah, well said.
So we've gone from the science of caffeine to a global exploration of coffee culture. What a journey.
It's amazing, isn't it, how much depth there is to something that we so often just take for granted.
I know. I honestly feel like I have this whole new appreciation for my daily cup.
I know what you mean.
But before we go, I think it's important to remember that everyone is different. What works for one person might not work for another.
Oh, absolutely. And all this research that we talked about, it does point to a lot of potential benefits, but Everyone responds to coffee differently. It's really important to listen to your body and just pay attention to how you feel after you drink coffee.
Right. And if you're experiencing any, negative side effects like jitters or insomnia or digestive issues, it's probably a good idea to, adjust your intake, maybe even talk to your doctor.
Good advice. Moderation is key, like with most things in life.
Well, coffee lovers, we've reached the end of our deep dive. Hopefully, you've gained some new insights and maybe even a newfound appreciation for your daily cup of coffee. Or two, or three.
And remember, the next time you reach for that cup of coffee, just take a moment to savor not just the taste, but the history, the culture, the amazing science behind it.
Cheers to that.
Happy sipping, everyone.